How's going guys, welcome to the channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto got abandoned by his family and becomes the 7 sins of the Namikaze. Part 1. Huge shout out to R0 Tatsid for this story. If you wants to see awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get into the video. The seal. Inside a strange sewer-like place stood a cage, within that cage were 2 separate seals, one to open the cage, and one to grant freedom of its inhabitants. Inside sat a giant red fox with 9 tails, the creature responsible for so many deaths of a village. Now as the malevolent creature sat there and waited until he heard an unearthly disturbance. As he looked outside his cage, he was greeted with the sight of a blonde boy with whiskers marks. This was Naruto Uzumaki. "So, my container decided to visit me, to what do I owe the pleasure?" the fox asked sarcastically. "I am going to remove the first seal," he said plainly without looking up and slowly moving towards the cage. Finally gave in. "Yes, release me and grant me the chance to rip those villagers apart," the fox commanded only to be ignored with silence. "I'm not freeing you. I'm freeing your real self," he said slowly ripping away the seal as a light appeared. "And the only way to do that is to defeat you," he said determined. "A ninja, like you cannot defeat me. I am the 9-tailed fox, the strongest Biju and demon lord," the fox boasted. Naruto's face turned into a scowl as a dark tattoo made of darkness appeared over his like a scar. "Trust me, you are no demon and you weren't a Biju before," he said. "What is this stupidity you are spewing?" the fox asked. "Kurama the 9-tailed fox died centuries ago and he forced you to take his power in hopes of being reborn. Sadly, what he didn't know that only his behavior was reborn, but you are still trapped in that form," Naruto explained as more shapes formed around his face from the darkness. "I've had enough of your annoying voice," the fox shouted swinging his tails at Naruto only for the boy to jump and hit him in the face directly. "You insolent little," the fox was interrupted as several Naruto began to strike him with green blades, weapons with jagged edges. "7 deadly sin," asked Big Tsumi. "This is a sacred treasure, you would recognize this if you were yourself and not stuck thinking you're Kurama," Naruto said coldly as the copies began to slash around the tailed beast's body, making it howl in pain. The fox growled in anger and started smashing his tails against the clones in hopes of killing the real Naruto. All 4 popped, but he lost sight of his real container. Without realizing it, he noticed a yellow blur as it sent his face crashing into the sewer water. The fox was annoyed and was ready to annihilate his utter annoyance. "I'm done playing your games, you stupid ninja," the fox shouted as he charged up his chakra and started forming a giant sphere of energy, the Bijuudama, the inspiration for Minato Namikaze's Rasengan. The Bijuudama finished and was fired at Naruto, who just stood there flaring his curse mark as he prepared for the blast as he held out a short broadsword. "Full counter," he shouted as he held the short sword in a defensive position and was being pushed back by the power of the Bijuudama. The fox smirked thinking Naruto was prolonging the inevitable, only to see that the bomb has stopped in its tracks and slowly grew. The tailed beast's power soon grew and unexpectedly moved backwards very slowly. After a minute, the Bijuudama moved faster and faster and eventually moved faster than when it was shot. The fox was bewildered at his power being deflected by a lowly human, but was too slow to move out of the way as it came directly back at him. Boom. The fox soon fell on his side, feeling a great amount of shock as his greatest ability was merely deflected, strengthened and turned back on him. He looked up wincing as the pain from the stronger Bijuudama was too powerful for him to recover from. Naruto approached him. "Are you done yet?" he asked receiving a loud growl. "I guess not, but I don't have any more time to waste on a stupid animal with a god complex," he said coldly as he closed his eyes as his cursed marks disappeared. A minute later he opened his left eye showing his normal blue eye, but then he slowly opened his right eye, revealing it to be orange. The orange eye had a strange symbol on it. He quickly moved away as the fox brushed away the pain as he attempted to swipe at Naruto again, but didn't expect him to float away. Naruto soon landed but jumped in the air as he removed his shirt and jacket, revealing his bare chest. As he was in the air, his eye briefly glowed as wings revealed themselves from his back. They were 2 pure white colored wings with 2 smaller ones right below them, as all 4 kept him floating. "Don't think the fact you were able to turn a Bijuudama on me suddenly makes you invulnerable. I am the 9-tailed fox. The greatest and strongest Biju of all the 9-tailed beasts," the fox shouted as continued swiping and clawing the flying blonde who dodged at every attack. "Arc," he shouted as a seal-shaped beam of energy hit the fox directly knocking him on his back. "You fought the demon, now it's time to fight the angel," Naruto shouted firing another arc at the fox before he got the chance to get back up. "I don't care what you are," he shouted firing one more Bijuudama after several more claw strikes. Sadly, the explosive jutsu missed as the flying boy completely dodged it with insane speed as he struck the fox several more times with his short sword. Time to end this. Naruto said, crossing his arms. Let there be light. He shouted, firing a drill of light energy as it hit the fox directly. What did you do to me? Why do I feel so weak? The fox shouted as he begun to lose all of his energy. I purified you. It's time for you leave this existence and free the innocent soul you enslaved. Beggin'. He shouted as the fox howled in pain as his existence was slowly being ripped apart. Soon light consumed the sower as Naruto closed his eyes. Mito and Kushina failed, but I didn't. I helped you find peace. He said to himself, letting the light consume him. End of song. The boar hat. Naruto opened his eyes and found himself lying on a ground covered in grass. He stood up and turned to see an old bar. The boar hat, that was its name. Naruto opened the door to find the place well furnished, as if it's been kept clean and was never abandoned. He took a seat at the front counter on one of the stools. As he waited, he heard several footsteps coming from the stairway at the side of the bar. Someone came out. It was an older man with a scar around his neck. He was very muscular like an Olympian and wore a revealing red leather jacket with a matching pair of red leather pants. He also had red eyes like he did in his fox form, along with pale blue hair. Other than his strange tattoo and red eyes, this man had no physical resemblance to a fox like he would have expected. So, after nearly a century with red-headed bimbos, it takes an idiot who turned out to be my best buddy's descendant. He asked Naruto, who nodded, keeping his orange eye active. The man went behind the counter and looked down as he sighed. So after so many years he and the love of his life were gone, huh? He asked without turning around. I'm sorry for your loss, but don't lose hope. Naruto comforted. Why? Everyone I know is gone. It started with Elaine, but now the captain, Elizabeth, the holy knights and even rest of the gang is gone, and I've been cursed again. First, I'm immortal, now I'm stuck being a tailed beast for the next millennium. So why shouldn't I lose hope? He asked, turning back around surprised to see Naruto maintaining a straight face while holding out a scroll. From my ancestor Meliodas, he and my other ancestor Elizabeth came to me one day in a dream and left this message. I'm not sure how, but this was formed when I woke up. Naruto explained before Ban took the scroll. Hey Ban. Hopefully our great-great-grandson or however many greats he is gave you this message. Well, you were turned into a giant beast. Elizabeth and I were forced to freeze everyone we could get our hands on after we defeated Zeldris and fought in another holy war. I won't dwell much into that, but sadly, my curse was lifted along with Elizabeth's immortality and power to reborn. We thought we would only freeze the gang for a couple of centuries, but apparently that's not the case. Elizabeth and I may have ended the conflict between us, the goddess clan and demon clan, but apparently that wasn't enough. We managed to lock the demon clan away, but we aren't completely sure for how long. However, we have tamed the goddess clan, so Fishcake can take over as soon as those angels recognize and decide if he's worthy, most likely some pure of heart BS test. Anyways, here's the list of everyone we managed to save. I'm not sure what happened in the last few thousand years, but don't worry, Fishcake here said he can get a map and maybe an expert with a map on the bottom to find everyone. Good luck, pal. Oh, and by the way, we're leaving our abilities with Fishcake along with my sword and Elizabeth's ability to summon the goddess and angels. They call it a summoning contract now for some reason. Slater, Lil Gil, Hoser, Gila, Zeal, Jericho, Dreyfus, Griamore, Hendrickson, Margaret and Veronica. Yeah, I know, long one, but I decided to keep the Holy Knights and Elizabeth sisters together, even though King Barter died. I remember how they reacted when he died. I can only imagine what Fishcake will say when he meets them. He'll be like, hi, I'm Meliodas and Elizabeth's descendant. Why do I say that? Because your friend and sister are both dead. Yeah, not so subtle, is it? Anyways, they're in the old kingdom, which is abandoned and sealed by a barrier made by Elizabeth. Gowther, Hawk and Hawk's mama are together in some weird forest place. Funny thing that most of these guys that live nearby have these weird powers, mainly with fire. It seems dangerous, but honestly they seem weaker than Lil Gil when he was a kid learning his elemental powers. Merlin and Escanor are together at Merlin's request. Escanor blushed for some reason, but they're both in a sealed cave in a desert. Diane, King, Matrona and Matrona's family along with Elaine's body are in the old fairies forest. Funny story, with the land suddenly changing, I only found it again after swimming aimlessly for nearly an hour near some giant tree near some waterfall. So that's it. I hope Fishcake here helps fill in the gap I made. I'm sorry, Ban, I know we've all been through a lot, but I guess the destinies we create for ourselves can still influence where we find ourselves. Goodbye, Ban, tell everyone we miss them as much as they'll miss us. Meliodas, captain of the 7 deadly sins. Elizabeth, 3rd princess of lions. P.S. Tell Fishcake that I give him permission to take up my name, since he's my legacy along with Elizabeth's. I don't think Fishcake Tides or whatever his name means will earn him too much respect. DPS Ban, this is Elizabeth. Please don't call Naruto by his name's meaning. I also wanted to let you know that if my sisters are okay with, I'm letting Naruto use my surname, since I learned about his family abandoning him. I believe it is wrong to abandon your child for the sake of two others, since he is our descendant that makes him the nephew of Veronica and Margaret. Ban wiped a tear and looked back at Naruto who powered down his eye. Well, when do we start? He asked getting a raised eyebrow. Well, I'm done crying about being hopeless, and now that I think about it, if Meliodas is your distant grandfather, what does that make me and the gang? He asked. Well, you know the truth about my parents and I technically have godparents, and I don't entirely trust Sarutobi anymore. He kept the truth away from me, and I can't be sure what his true intentions anymore. Naruto answered. Ban placed a hand on his shoulder and smiled. Well kid, you know King and Diane secretly had feelings for each other, and they don't have normal human lifespans. Where are you going with this? Naruto asked, seeing Ban planning something. I'm just thinking of candidates for your godparents. Ban said as he started cooking something. Now that I think about, Margaret and Veronica may have adopted Elizabeth, but I think once they come around, they'll make decent aunts. He continued. You know, Kushina was able to train a bit in here and felt pain, but I think the same goes for eating, and if so, I think it's time you ate something besides ramen. Naruto smiled at the thought. Thank you Uncle Ban. Naruto said as Ban stopped and looked at him for a second, then smiled. No Naruto, thank you for freeing me, for giving me hope to family. The family? Naruto said back. From that day, the two talked all day and planned out finding their friends. Surprisingly, as they studied the maps, they found out Gowther and Hawk were the first ones they could find. 1 year later. Naruto was tossing and turning in his bed. The images were haunting him. He was remembering his younger days before he was a ninja and was a civilian child. The hate, the glares, the abuse, the wrath that manifesting within him. Deep down, his wrath was filling up again. Ever since Meliodas and Elizabeth helped awaken him to his powers, his inner hatred was stirring up and making his wrath stronger. He can't contain it as he was used to. The false innocence and happy attitude was just a cover that held down that power. Without realizing it, the blonde descendant of the demon and angel flared his curse mark as he continued to violently toss around his bed. Demon. Murderer. Filth. The curse mark became brighter as he started to drown in cold sweat. Die demon. You killed my family. Bet the fox. Finish what the Yondai mace started. Naruto's eyes opened as he flared his goddess eye and slashed at his roof, creating a large gaping hole. He just looked around and noticed the sun still hasn't risen. The 14-year just stood up from bed and went to the bathroom to wash his face. As he did, he looked in the mirror and saw someone behind him. Do you think anyone noticed? Naruto asked. You're lucky you have no neighbors or a landlord. The person said. That's good I guess, maybe I should check on Selin. You think she and the other members of the goddess clan figure out to break the seal? We found the pig and the doll. The moment we get them out, we start looking for everyone. Naruto said, receiving a chuckle. You know, despite the fact you may be his distant grandson and a hell of a lot more serious, but you are just as eager for adventure as him. Said the person entering the bathroom, revealing to be Ban. Yeah, the Chunin exams are in a month, but I'm sure with the right incentive, I'm sure Sarutobi would let me visit Uchiha or Suna. Naruto said, exiting the bathroom. So basically, get the Holy Knights with Elizabeth's sisters or Merlin and Escanor. Regardless, with Gowther around we'll be able to explain everything rather quickly since he can spread your memories, and since I'm a Biju now and I'm still linked to you, we don't have to worry about him experimenting on our minds like he did to Diane. Ban explained, looking at his nephew figure. Yeah, maybe meeting my potential aunts and uncles sounds more fun, maybe we should visit them first. You said Hawk's mama is fast, right? Naruto asked, rubbing his temples. Faster than you on foot, so I'd say we'll get Uchiha within a day at a decent speed. Besides, she's been through a lot, and I'm sure Hawk will be excited to become Konoha's captain of scraps disposal. Ban answered with a snicker. Yeah, maybe I should call Selin. I hope she's at least made some progress. Granny Elizabeth's techniques make regular sealing look like chicken scratch. Naruto said, preparing, making his eye glow brighter. Summoning jutsu. Selin. He shouted. Smoke filled the room, and short girl with brown hair tied in a braid and purple eyes appeared wearing a Roman-style dress, appeared looking around in confusion until she saw Ban and Naruto. Master Naruto, did you require my assistance? She asked in a sudden panic. Yes, I just wanted a quick update on my grandmother's seal. He answered, getting a nod. Yes, Lady Elizabeth's seal was difficult and rather tedious, but after so much research and with the help of your notes, I believe we have a way to crack it and free Master Ban's associates. She explained as she summoned a scroll. We've been going over several times before we considered contacting you just to avoid wasting your time. She finished politely. Good, Selin, I will contact you in the morning again. I want you to prepare for the unsealing, so if you feel unsure, this is your last chance to review the unsealing method. Naruto said, with the angel training nodding as she disappeared in a bright light. Better get some rest, Ban, our journey might start tomorrow. He told his tenant, who nodded and went back into his seal. The next morning, Naruto found himself in his true form wearing a tailored version of Meliodas' bartender suit since it was the only thing he could get his hands on that wasn't an orange monstrosity shops would sell him. At least it was semi-formal and for some reason very durable since his ancestor somehow avoided his own outfit from being torn about from all the fights he's found himself in. After an hour of traveling the pair found themselves in the illusion Elizabeth made. Naruto broke it and found what they were looking for. The crystal-like material surround Gowther and Hawk along with remnants of the boar hat, meaning Hawk's mama was right underneath. Summoning jutsu. Selen. He shouted revealing the brunette and holding her scroll. Ah, Master Naruto and Master Ban. Are you two ready? She asked with the two nodding. Very well, let us get started. She said unwrapping the scroll and activated several runes and seals. Selen soon jumped over the crystal-like material trapping the trio making them glow and slowly shatter. The angel soon found herself chanting something as the goddess seals appeared around the confinement crystals. Holy crap, I think she might be able to break them out. Ban said voicing out his excitement, as annoying as the two are, it better than nothing. He finished with Naruto nodding, remembering all the stories Ban told about everyone ever since he regained his sanity. A few minutes later Selen finished her chanting and the seals disappeared as the crystals started to fall apart as bright lights appeared around cracks, creating a loud boom as they fell apart. It looks like your job here is done, Selen. I thank you and the goddess clan for your assistance. Naruto said. It was our pleasure, Master Naruto. She said before disappearing in a bright light. A couple of minutes later two shadows appeared from the smoke caused by the destroyed crystals. As the smoke cleared, it revealed a young man with pink hair wearing glasses and a large pig. Hey Hawk, Gowther over here. Shouted Ban grabbing their attention as they ran towards him. Hey Ban. I thought you lost your mind, didn't you become a dog or something? Hawk asked. I believe he was a fox, Hawk. Now that I think about it, we didn't have time to assist you as the captain required for us to be frozen. Has it been 2 centuries? He asked until he noticed Naruto. Excuse me sir, but who are you? He asked as Hawk looked up as well. I can tell you it's been more than 2 centuries. Naruto answered. What? Meliodas, is that you got older? Hawk shouted out, then he looked around the forest for a moment. Hey, where's Elizabeth? He asked. It's been a few millennia, but I'm not Meliodas. Naruto responded as he wiped his hair away and revealed his goddess eye, shocking Gowther and Hawk. What? Don't tell me. Hawk shouted. Hawk, I believe he may be related to the captain and Elizabeth themselves. Gowther stated observing Naruto. Oh my god. Those two had a baby. He shouted again. Yes, but I'm not that baby. Naruto responded. What? Gowther and Hawk asked. Gowther, don't you have the ability to share memories between us? Ban asked receiving a nod. Well, you and Hawk are going to have to go through his memories so we don't have to go through the whole story. Gowther raised his hands and began to link their minds together as Gowther and Hawk experienced Naruto's story. The two went through his childhood abuse to the time he learned the truth about his parents, followed by the fight with Ban in his tailed beast form, which led to the memory of Meliodas and Elizabeth visiting him in a dream, explain what happened to them, finally ending the journey with a year of training under Ban. Oh my, that is unfortunate. Gowther said, lacking any emotion. Hawk, however, was starting to cry. So Elizabeth and Meliodas are gone? He asked, receiving a nod only for the pig to cry out loud. As he cried, everyone was surprised to see that Hawk was being comforted by Naruto as the blonde hugged the pig. I'm sorry Hawk, I grew up alone and hated for something I wasn't even aware of until over a year ago. Then I learned my real family practically left me for dead, whereas you lost someone you knew for a long time. Naruto said, comforting the pig, who started to calm down. Gowther decided to speak up as he always kept a calm demeanor. Wait, Naruto, was it? He asked, receiving a nod. In your memory, you gave Ban a scroll from Meliodas, correct? He asked as Naruto nodded again, pulling out the scroll. That's right, we needed to get to you guys first since you were the closest, and Hawk's mama can help us get to everyone faster than going on foot. Ban explained as Gowther read the message. He is right, Hawk, even though the captain is no longer with us, we still have the rest of the group, along with the remnants of lions. Gowther added as he passed back the scroll. Really, like Diane and King? Hawk asked, wiping his tears with Hove. Yes, Hawk, but first we'll be looking for Merlin, Escanor and the remnants of lions, since I'm still having trouble pinpointing Diane and King's location. He said, making the pig still keep his hopes high. Well then, what are we waiting for? Mommy. Hawk shouted, making the ground around them shake as the damaged boar hat soon began to shake as well. After a couple of minutes, a large green pig with straps connected to the tavern itself rised from the ground. Where to, new captain? He asked. Hawk, just because I'm his descendant doesn't mean I want to completely replace him. He said, making the pig look down. Besides that, I need to get us permission to leave the village. You did pay attention to the knowledge of the hidden village through my memories, right? He asked with the pig looking at him confused. Naruto cannot leave as that would mark him as a deserter, so he must gain clearance before we begin our journey. Gowther explained with Hawk nodding. Yeah, Naruto, you better get the old man's permission. Ban said, but then it hit him, he couldn't go alone since he's a rookie genin and the village is Jinchuriki. Wait, hold that thought. He shouted as he pulled a piece of paper and quickly wrote on it and handed it to Gowther. You want me to ask for a mission with Naruto as a bodyguard? Gowther asked. Yeah, since he's only a rookie, Naruto can't go on his own since he's a rookie, unless it's a simple mission like a short escort. Ban answered, then Hawk and I can wait in the outskirts of the village and we can take off since a giant pig will draw too much attention. Ban finished. I understand now, I should make my way there now, care to escort me Naruto? He asked. Yeah, but I better activate my disguise, since no one is aware of my appearance. Naruto said, transforming into the orange-wearing idiot. A disguise, I bet they think you're an idiot wearing so much orange. Gowther said, receiving a nod. Later. Gowther made his way to the tower keeping a disguise by changing his hair and eye color as Naruto decided to wait at Ichiraku's. The goat Sin soon found himself exploring the halls of the tower as he made it to the secretary's office. Good morning, how may I help? Asked the secretary with a bright smile. Hypocrite, Gowther thought as Naruto's memories showed this woman would often try to kick Naruto out before he could talk the village leader. Yes, is this the Hokage's office? I am here to request a mission. Gowther said politely. Yes, please wait a moment. She said as she spoke into the intercom, Hokage-sama may see you now. She said with Gowther nodding as he walked through the doors. Hello young man, how may I help you today? Sarutobi asked eyeing the now green-haired boy. Hello Hokage-sama, I am Alan and I am here to request one of your shinobi to escort myself to a village near Wave Country. Gowther answered maintaining his disguise. Preferably the hero of Wave Country. He said. Sarutobi remembered the report he got from Tazuna as Naruto actually inspired the inhabitants of the poor trading post and named their bridge after him. Perhaps this could be some good experience for the QP container. Are you sure you wouldn't need a whole team? He asked. No, unlike Tazuna-sen, I guarantee you that the only hazards will be the way there as it is rather far to go on foot. So I believe an experienced shinobi will be necessary should I get lost or run into wild animals since I cannot defend myself. Gowther explained. How long will this mission last? I do expect my shinobi to return at some point. Asked Sarutobi, hoping for his surrogate grandson avoids trouble or arguing with the client. Gowther places a hand on his chin. If it were by horse I would say 2 full days, but since I am on foot, it will take almost 3 days to reach my village, plus the extra 2 or 3 days for your shinobi to return on his own. Gowther answered, if you are worried I can send a carrier pigeon at every mail post site we come across marking our progress, and your shinobi can do the same. He continued, hoping to ensure Sarutobi that Naruto should go alone to avoid suspicion. Alright, I expect a letter from my shinobi every chance or every day marking your progress on making to and back to the village. Sarutobi explained, receiving a nod. Well then, Anbu. One of them appeared from his corner, bring me Naruto Uzumaki. Hi. A few minutes later. Naruto arrived with a bored demeanor. Hey Gramps, you called? He asked. Hey, who's this guy? He pointed to Gowther. Naruto, this is Alan, you will be escorting him to his village near Wave Country. Sarutobi answered. So why isn't Kakashi-sensei and everyone else here? He asked. No Naruto, Alan here has assured me that this mission will be a solo one for you, since he claims the only problem is the distance and the potential wild animals he will run into. The Kage explained. Sweet. I get my very own mission, Naruto asked with stars in his eyes. This is how he forces himself to act. Gowther thought to himself. Yes, Naruto, just you, but I need you to write to me every chance you get when on your extended trip. Sarutobi answered. Wait, why? The blonde asked, looking curious. Because it's a solo mission that will possibly take a week since you are going on foot, plus the time it take to come back since Alan here states his village is close to Wave, but tricky to get to. Sarutobi said, filling out the paperwork for the mission. Okay. He said as he turned to Gowther. Hi Alan-san, I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm the future Hokage. I'll see you at the gates in a half hour. He shouted as he ran out the doors. Thank you Hokage-sama, I will send the payment once I reach my village. Good day to you. Gowther said, bowing and leaving as he went toward the village gates. I doubt even Merlin would keep her calm demeanor if this was how he really acted. This personality is worse than the captain's. He thought to himself. An hour later. Naruto and Gowther were already out of range from the village. This is far enough. Naruto said, quickly stopping and removing his disguise and revealing his older appearance with the bartender uniform he was wearing earlier. He immediately started groaning in pain as he covered his eyes. That's the last time I'm ever using that ice star technique. He said. How bad is it? Gowther asked with Naruto staring at him in anger. "Let me show you," he said, feeling annoyed. "Later. Is this pain? Why am I curious about everything?" Gowther shouted as he was laying on his back, covering his eyes in pain from the technique. "Told you, where the hell is Hawk's mama anyways?" Naruto asked as he prepared his healing technique with his goddess technique. Several minutes later, after healing the dull man, the two looked up to see the giant green pig walking towards them, sporting that giant smile she always has. "We're here," Hawk shouted from above as he pushed down the rope ladder. "Come on, we have friends to save and adventure to look forward to." He continued running back inside as the pair below climbed up the rope. "Naruto, where are we off to?" asked Gowther. "Near Uchiha, or the land of whirlpools. It's where my birth mother was born along with Mito Uzumaki, who were both sealing master that carried Ban within them before I released him from his insanity," Naruto explained as they made it to the top. "Intriguing. Will we be passing by?" Gowther asked. "Very likely, but there's nothing there considering the place was destroyed during the last Shinobi World War when Konoha failed to arrive on time when they were attacked," Naruto answered. For an entire day, the group found themselves talking about what they would do as Naruto planned out how he would get them into Konoha without drawing too much attention, without revealing themselves, or at very least mark them as a new clan in Konoha. They would have to cross that bridge when they get there, especially when they have to come up with another excuse once they figure out where Diane and King are, along with Diane's friend Matrona. Later that night, Hawk's mama found a place to rest as she dug herself underground for the night. Ban decided to Naruto around the tavern to show him where the rooms were, as Gowther already claimed a bed, leaving the other two to choose their rooms for the night. As for Hawk, the pig decided to just lay beside Naruto, with the former already trying to build a friendship with Meliodas' descendant. The next day, the group had their breakfast and signaled to Hawk's mom to move again, reaching Uchiha an hour later. The large pig managed to maneuver around the village's illusions since chakra didn't affect her, making it easier to avoid the whirlpools and strong tides from pulling her in. The hazardous journey soon ended once they reached the end of the ruins, since no one in the tavern had any interest in digging up old fossils or collecting any rubble or outdated sealing scrolls, since apparently Elizabeth and the goddess clan's sealing methods were more advanced. After a couple of hours of searching, the group stopped as they finally found the barrier to lions. Summoning jutsu. Cell and Naruto shouted as he summoned the brunette for a third consecutive time. "Ah, Master Naruto, do you require unsealing again?" she asked with a smile, as she and the rest were loyal to the boy and were never annoyed by the blonde since his attitude was a facade and he would only use them when necessary. "Yes, Ellen, I want you to see if you can remove this barrier." He pointed to the illusion. "I believe it might be similar to what my grandmother made when freezing everyone." He explained, receiving a nod as the angel flew towards the barrier and did the same process as she did with the crystals that surround Gowther and Hawk. "Who's the flying lady?" Hawk asked. "She's Ellen." The goddess clan was tamed, but the demon clan wasn't, so after a quick set of trials, Selen became my main sum for personal use, and her clan was responsible for figuring out the seals. Elizabeth used to freeze you guys and make that barrier," Naruto explained. "Sure, wish I was around to see that," Hawk responded. "How long will this take?" asked Gowther. "It took 10 minutes for you guys, but this barrier looks stronger, so I would say relax for now," Naruto answered. Everyone just sat there as Ban grabbed some ingredients Naruto brought before leaving the village as he began to cook lunch for everyone. A half hour later, the group felt the barrier release as it created a small earthquake that shook Hawk's mama along with the tavern. "I am finished, Master Naruto. Will that be all?" Selen asked, flying inside the tavern. "No, not yet, Selen. This was the barrier, and to convince you, you might want to sit back until we find the rest of our group," he explained, getting a nod as the angel took a seat on one of the stools. "Lions, what's left of it?" The giant pig, along with her inhabitants, saw the ruins of the once proud kingdom of lions, ruled by a strong and kind leader, King Bartra, now turned into a shadow of its former glory. Naruto immediately used his multi-shadow clone technique as he summoned hundreds of copies of himself. "I want all of you to search every nook and cranny of this entire kingdom until you find the crystals containing the holy knights," he told his clones. "What was that technique you did? I did not see you use the sacred treasure and do not believe it can make that many illusions," Gowther asked, rather bepised. "Gowther, that was the shadow clone jutsu, and even without Ban's new power, I can make several hundred of them without exhaustion, and the best part is that once they dispel I retain their memories, making it easier to gain experience and memory," Naruto explained. "I see, so by making hundreds of yourself, you crack down on the time it would take to find everyone," Gowther stated. "Correct, now all we have to do is play the waiting game again and hope at least one of them finds them so we can move on to rebuilding the 7 deadly sins," Naruto said. "I'll drink to that," said Ban in the back. "I'm so excited, I can't wait to get everyone back." Hawk shouted only to look down, but what do we tell them about Meliodas and Elizabeth, and better yet, how will Elizabeth's sister react? It's only been a few minutes for them and they're just going to hear that their sister is dead. Hawk elaborated. Gowther will help as he can transfer my memory, and as for how they will take it I'm really not sure, but we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. Naruto responded, realizing how everyone might react to their entire civilization being gone and rebuilt as something foreign and strange. To top it off, he's the only memory left of his distant relatives with barely any plan of what to do when he unfreezes them. I should have planned this better. He said to himself as everyone else contemplated on what their next move after the unfreezing is done. Don't sweat it, Naruto, besides I'm sure the princesses will at least feel somewhat better knowing they have another living relative and won't break down in depression, saying that they'll feel better with lots of alcohol and gambling. Ban spoke up. I don't like Tsunade as much as you, but I want first dibs, after that I heal her completely, so you have your turn, then heal her again so we can double team. He said, receiving a chuckle. You know, kid, if I was freed years earlier, I would have adopted you instead of laughing like a maniac at the fact that the stupid monkey screwed up. Ban said. Yup, my parents were the Hokage and a clan heir from a clan that controlled an entire village, but my new parents are an immortal guy and fairy who looks like a little girl. Maybe after we find Elaine, we can use Tobarama's jutsu and my eye to restore her. Naruto said. Well, if she's okay with it then I guess King would have to be your godparent or something. Ban said with a chuckle but frowned immediately, then I would be related to King. He said, growling. The two were friends but always at each other's throats. Can I start calling you dad instead of uncle? Naruto asked as Ban just left after thinking about becoming King's brother-in-law. I guess not, oh well I have aunts. He laughed. Meanwhile at the Hokage's office. You can come out now, Jiraiya, said Sarutobi as a man dressed as a kabuki character jumped through the window into the office. Well sensei, clearly I'm losing my touch. He said with a grin. Yes, but that isn't why you are here, is it? The old man asked, taking a deep inhale from his pipe. About that, I'm going to be frank with you. He said to his former sensei, not taking his mouth off the pipe. Kasumi and Narumi's Biju chakra is gone along with their seals, and now Minato is coming back to check on Naruto. Jiraiya finished. Well, Jiraiya, is Minato coming back to stay and possibly take custody of Naruto again? The Kage asked. Very likely, besides Tsunade has been considering taking him on as an apprentice, knowing he might get excited to be trained by a Sannin, unless I get to him first. Why do you ask? Sarutobi took off his hat and placed his pipe to the side. Jiraiya, I am going to be frank with you as well. Since Orochimaru left the village a new development has happened along with Minato leaving. He said, surprising the Toad Sage. What is it, sensei? He asked, feeling concerned. I went back to having 3 disappointments instead of 2. He said plainly. I don't understand. Jiraiya said in confusion. Jiraiya, I made many mistakes and there's one I intend to fix before someday fixing another one. When Minato Namikaze returns I will tell the truth of the QB attack and along with it I will name a 5th Hokage. He said, shocking his student. Sensei, what about Iwa? He asked. Sarutobi glared at him, what about the damn villagers? He shouted, scaring Jiraiya, they've been trying to end his life believing he was the damn fox itself. Were you there? No, you weren't, whereas I had hundreds of thousands of demands for the death of a boy who until a few years ago kept asking me one thing that would haunt me. Do you know what that is, Jiraiya? He asked the Toad Sage, who started getting scared. He asked me, why don't I have parents? Am I loved? Why does everyone hate me? Do you have any idea how it feels to look down the eyes of a child and lie to them? No, of course you don't. While you and Tsunade were joining the Namikaze family eating lobster and enjoying walks on the beach because your senile frogs drew something and put it on the fridge, you assume child abandonment should be supported. But sensei, the prophecy. What prophecy? What does it say now? Jiraiya remained quiet. Jiraiya, unless you have something interesting to say then you and Tsunade better be expecting some horrible consequences once I tell the village and Naruto the truth and before you decide to move on from writing porn to comedy. No, I will not choose either of you to be the 5th Hokage. He shouted, flaring enough Kai make Orochimaru himself melt into a puddle. Now if you don't have anything else to report you are dismissed. He said with the Toad Sage making a break for it. He then looked under his desk to see the photo of Naruto wearing the Kage hat on his 6th birthday with himself in the background. Naruto, I've failed you and all I can do now is tell the truth. I've seen that look in your eyes and I can tell you aren't the kind of boy you really are. Most boys your age wouldn't suffer as you have. I can only hope your journey becomes a fruitful one. Sarutobi said to himself, wiping a tear away as he saw Naruto as another grandson and could cry if Konohamaru went through the same treatment. The boar hat. Everyone but Selen is singing a strange song Naruto made up from reading a book after he found a guitar in the back. Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River, life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing like a breeze. Naruto started as he played his guitar. Country roads, take me home, to the place I belong, West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home, country roads. Hawk joined in. All my memories gather round her, miner's lady, stranger to blue water, dark and dusty, painted on the sky, misty taste of moonshine, teardrop in my eye, Gowther added in feeling the rhythm. Country roads take me home, to the place I belong, West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home, country roads, band joined in jumping out of the kitchen. I hear her voice, in the morning hour she calls me, the radio reminds me of my home far away, and driving down the road I get a feeling that I should have been home yesterday, said everyone getting the hang of the song. Country roads take me home, to the place I belong, West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home, country roads, everyone sang several times before ending it with Selen clapping towards the song. What is West Virginia? Asked Gowther with Naruto looking at him intently. I have no idea. He answered getting a face fault from Selen, Hawk and Ban. How the hell do you not know you made up the song? Ban shouted. It was inspired from a book I read once. Naruto said getting a huff out of his uncle. I love you too, Dad. He said not getting a response. Hopefully those two get over mourning their sister and are willing to get to know their nephew. Wait, if Ban is your uncle and Elizabeth's sisters are your aunts, then who are your parents? Hawk asked getting a glare. Oh yeah, I forgot about the memories, so what about new godparents? Ban said King and Diane were the best choices since Merlin isn't very affectionate and Escanor is a wild card depending on the time of day. He said learning from what Ban said in his stories about the 7 deadly sins. And Gowther? Hawks asked. Yes, what about me? Asked Gowther feeling intrigued about the concept of family since he mostly saw working with the other sins as an unpaid job. I don't know, what do you want to be? Naruto asked with Ban hearing the conversation as he didn't like whatever was going through Gowther's head at the moment. I will be your attorney. He said getting a look of annoyance. No, I will be your elder brother. Catch. He said throwing a ball at Naruto's head knocking him over. Master Naruto. Selen shouted as she tended to his wound. You suck at this, little brother. Gowther said getting a glare from Hawk and Selen. A moment later, Naruto shot up with a look of concern on his face. I found them, they're at the dungeon levels of the old castle. He shouted as he grabbed Hawk who briefly panicked while the remaining sins followed him. Selen also decided to pursue as well since her job wasn't finished. A good 15 minutes later, the group found themselves in the old castle that was still holding together. Hey, it's my old apartment. Naruto said out loud as they entered the dungeons. This is not the time to be roasting that crappy place, besides we better dig up some treasure, because there is no way everyone is fitting in your apartment or the boar had. Ban explained thinking the place might get cramped since they'll be fitting around 11 people before they reach Merlin and Escanor. Good point. Naruto responded. For the next few minutes the group journeyed to find the knights and princesses all frozen together in a large cell. Naruto and Ban soon used up their super strength to rip off the cell doors before Selen could enter. Selen, you think you can do it on a larger scale? Naruto asked. Of course, Master Naruto, by helping you I'll gain my wings and soon you'll be closer to reaching you family. She said with glee as she began to summon all the proper seals surrounding each individual. So, what now? Asked Hawk. How about we make another song? Suggested Gowther. The tart time. Shouted Naruto as he pulled out his instrument and papers. 45 minutes of rickrolling later. Now that song is going to be stuck in my head for a day. Said Ban with the rest nodding in agreement. Suddenly the seals grew brighter as the whole dungeon began to shake. Wee! Hawk shouted as he began to be tossed around by the tremors. After a couple of minutes, smoke filled the room, great breakthrough. Shouted Naruto forcing wind to push away the smoke. Will that be all, Master Naruto? Asked Selen who appeared out of the smoke. Yes, thank you again, Selen. He answered with the angel leaving in her bright light. As the smoke cleared up, the four witnessed the remaining members of Lions. Hey guys. Over here. Hawk shouted grabbing everyone's attention, look who we found. He shouted pointing towards Naruto. Sir Meliodas. Shouted Gilthinder who mistook Naruto's appearance and ran up him, Sir Meliodas, have you aged? He asked receiving a sigh. Ban noticed this and spoke up. He's not Meliodas, look at his right eye. He said as Naruto revealed his goddess eye shocking everyone. Then where's Meliodas and Elizabeth? Spoke up Margaret. Better yet, who's this guy and why does he have our sister's eye and Meliodas' looks? Veronica asked feeling wary of the stranger in front of her. I believe I may be able to help. Said Gowther walking closer to the group. Will everyone come close? I believe this will take very long to explain. He said as everyone did as they were told despite Gila showing some wariness as well from her past experience with a doll man, but held a tight grip around Zeal's hand. Gowther went through the process again and shared Naruto's memories again from his childhood abuse up to the start of the journey after he along with Hawk were freed. After he finished, Margaret fell on her knees crying as Gilthander held her. Veronica was fighting the tears while Griamore tried to place a hand on her shoulder only for her to push it away. Zeal was practically in tears as he was terrified from Naruto's abuse while Gila did her best to comfort him while Hauser was taking heavy breaths from Naruto's experience. Hendrickson along with Dreyfus only looked down as they knew that with all the time that's passed, the kingdom must have fallen. Jericho was the only one trying to keep an impassive look while keeping to herself. Slater just stood there feeling unsure about what to feel. He's the last of the roars of done, his kingdom is gone, and now he's stuck in a new world. So, are you telling me the kingdom's left in ruins, Meliodas and Elizabeth are both dead, and now we're stuck a millennium in the future where you're hated because Ban turned into a monster and they think you're Ban? Asked Hauser. Hey, if it helps, I'm an orphan, he said, getting sad of pity from the women. Oh, sorry, I was just thinking of myself for a second. Hauser said sarcastically as Naruto decided to put himself in the spotlight. At least your parents didn't fake their deaths to abandon you to raise your twin siblings. Especially since one of them is my village's leader at the time. Naruto said, making everyone glare at Hauser. Can we stop the arguing? Hendrickson asked, getting everyone attention. Now then, now that you've freed us, what do we do now? He asked. We free the remaining sins. Said Naruto with a toothy grin. And then? Hendrickson asked. Everyone soon turned back to Naruto, who just stared as they stared back in silence. They stared. He stared. They stared longer. He stared as long. They just all stood there. He blinked. Everyone was losing their patience. Naruto drastically went through 100 hand seals a second, poorly planned plot escape jutsu. Hold on, there is no way you are. Hendrickson was interrupted by a sudden transition. Later on, the road back at the tavern. That was a lot to take in. Said Jericho, who was sitting with Gila and Zeal. Yes, 1 minute we're frozen while the demon and goddesses are fighting and the next several thousand years pass by. Gila responded as she looked at her brother, who was shaking at the thought. So, what do you think we'll do after we find Merlin and Escanor? Jericho asked. Likely follow Naruto back to his village, it's a new world and we don't have much else since Lions has fallen. Answered Gila. Meanwhile, Veronica and Margaret went upstairs as the men were all talking about their situation. To be honest, there wasn't much they could do considering Lions is fallen, and it's safe to say so has Camelot, since Naruto did not mention of Arthur or his kingdom. Outside the boar hat. Hawk was sleeping on top of his mom's snout as Naruto was just staring at the sunset as they made their way to Suna. As he did, he briefly summoned a clone to write a note and send it the minute they pass a mail post to prevent suspicion from Sarutobi. But Veronica and Margaret. As for the last two princesses of Lions, the two were watching the blonde as he stared out at the landscape. Once again, they looked at the last message their sister gave Naruto and Ban in the scroll that the former gave them before they left their old home. Since he is our descendant, that makes him the nephew of Veronica and Margaret. So, what do you think? Asked Veronica, feeling confused about losing and gaining family. I think we should give him a chance, or the very least talk to him. Sir Gowther can wipe and mess with memories, but from what Sir Ban said, his new power prevents manipulation of Naruto's mind. So, all of that we experienced was honesty. Margaret explained. What about his plan? Lions is gone, so is father, the rest of the knights and Elizabeth. She said the last part with a lump in her throat. Veronica, we cannot go back to the way things were, we may have lost our sister and home, but all we can do is move forward. Margaret said, although feeling despair as she lost everything but her nephew growing up with nothing. It's going to be weird having a nephew and a new home, hopefully they leave him alone once they learn he's a noble at the very least. Veronica said, trying to be positive like her sister. Yes, perhaps we should talk to him and learn more about him before we arrive. Margaret said with a smiling. It'll almost be like having another sibling, at least we'll be there for him if he accepts us. Besides, with you he'll have an uncle out of Gilthander. Veronica said, laughing as Margaret blushed. Well, maybe he'll enjoy having Griamore as uncle as well. Margaret countered, making her younger sister blush. What about me? They turned to see Hauser in the doorway. What about you? Asked Veronica. Hey, if those two are uncles, then what does that make me? Chopped liver? He asked. An emergency organ donor doesn't sound so bad, good thinking, Hauser. Margaret said, with both women laughing at the wind user. Hey, that's not what I meant. He shouted out his frustrations. Why me? He asked, leaving with an tears as the two continued to laugh. Perhaps change will be a good thing. Veronica said as her sister nodded. The next morning. Naruto quickly summoned hundreds of clones at the crack of dawn. Okay, we've finally made to Suna, boys, this may take longer, but I want all of you to score every inch just like lions. We have gluttony and pride to look forward to. He told his clones. Hi. They all saluted before dashing off the enormous pig in search of the mysterious cave. Now time for the waiting game. He said to himself as Hawk's mama sinked into the ground. Better wait inside, I'm not getting sand inside the suit. Naruto entered the tavern and found it to be empty. So the blonde just sat there contemplating Diane and King's location. A giant tree near a waterfall. And he was swimming for over an hour. Some kind of underwater village. He asked himself 2 hours passed since his clones went off to search for the sealed cave. After another hour of waiting, the blonde looked up to see that man in the iron mask that carries the heavy jagged sword. "Ah, Mr. Naruto, up early, are we?" asked Slater as he took a seat. "I've been up for a while, I just sent my scouts to search for Merlin and Escanor a few hours ago." Naruto answered, confusing the large man. "Scouts, you say?" he asked. "In this world we use strange techniques with energy called chakra, and that energy allowed me to make hundreds of copies of myself that transfer memory and experience once they dispel," he explained. "Is that how you were able to locate us in such a large kingdom?" Slater asked, feeling intrigued. "That's right, and it only took an hour and a half instead of searching for days," Naruto answered, impressing the man. "Besides, I have until the end of the week to head back before the village leader gets worried and I possibly get marked as a deserter, so time is of the essence," he said, earning a nod. "I see, it's because of your status as a rookie and being linked to band that you are under a time constraint. Hopefully those scouts find my big sister and Escanor soon," Slater said, getting a nod from the blonde Jinchuriki. The two were soon joined by Ban and Gowther, leaving the four at each other's company for another hour until a clone dispersed with a new memory that transferred to Naruto. "One of my clones popped, the cave is 25 miles east of us and it's protected by another seal," Naruto said. "Then we should reach my big sister right now," Slater spoke. "Alright, I'll wake up the pig," Ban said as he went to fetch Hawk. A few minutes later, Hawk's mama raised from the ground and started dashing towards the east. Several more minutes later, the pig stopped once they reached the cave. Naruto had Hawk stay back and watch over everyone else who was still sleeping, leaving Slater to join them in his place. "Summoning jutsu. Selen," Naruto shouted, summoning his personal angel. "Selen, you know what do?" he asked a brunette who smiled and nodded. "Who would that be?" asked Slater. "That's Selen, the angels and goddesses can be summoned by a technique that the modern day invented, and she's one of many who studied Elizabeth's seals and freed you guys, along with Gowther and Hawk," explained Ban. "Ah, so to free Big Sis and Escanor, Selen will have to help," said Slater, getting a nod from everyone else as Selen finished and demolished the barrier. "Is it safe to assume that more are in here?" Selen asked. "Yes, Selen, Escanor and Merlin are in there, so I would be very grateful if you would bear with us for a little while longer," he said. "It would be my pleasure, Master Naruto," she said, following the men inside. Surprisingly, this was a quick journey considering the fact the cave's seal was weaker compared to the one surrounding lions and how quick it was to find the pair. "Well, thank God for shadow clones, Selen, you mind?" Ban asked the angel. "Right away, Master Ban," she said, starting the sealing process again for the second to final time. "So, what now?" asked Slater. "We wait for several minutes," Naruto answered, leaving everyone staring at the crystal stasis pods. A few minutes later, Selen disappeared yet again in her bright light as smoke filled the cave. "Great breakthrough," Naruto shouted, blowing all the smoke out of the cave as he did back in the dungeons of lions. "Okay, did they make it out?" asked Naruto. "Make what out?" "Who said that?" asked Naruto. "We." Everyone turned to see Merlin floating with Escanor in all his muscular glory right behind her. She then turned her attention towards the only blonde in the cave. "Captain, did you grow?" she asked. "I didn't know you broke your curse." "I am surprised to see that Merlin herself was tricked by his appearance," said Gowther as he tilted his head. What tricked me?" she asked. "Ms. Merlin, I do believe you should look deeper into that man's appearance," Escanor spoke in a prideful tone. The woman in question soon floated closer towards Naruto as she scanned his appearance, then Naruto removed the hair covering his right eye, shocking the sorceress. "You're not the captain?" she asked, feeling shocked while Escanor tilted his head in curiosity. "Gowther, can you explain who this is?" Gowther soon activated his ability as he connected Naruto's memories with Escanor and Merlin. The two were bombarded with ample memory and information, leaving the two stunned at what they saw. "So, the captain and Lady Elizabeth have both passed on, they were both honorable people, and they will be missed," Escanor said, closing his eyes and facing the ground. "Such a shame, but we have no other purpose for now. Escanor, let's go, perhaps Naruto here will help us find a new purpose in this Konoha where he is from," stated Merlin. "I will walk to the ends of the earth for you, Ms. Merlin," Escanor said, following the floating woman who left towards the exit. "That was easier than I thought, time to head back to Konoha," Naruto said. "What about Diane and King?" asked Slater. I haven't narrowed their location yet, so I think we should return, and I'll find an excuse to get back on the road later once I find their location," Naruto explained, getting a nod of understanding. The group exited the cave and returned back to the boar head, and before Hawk's mama turned around and started sprinting all the way back to Konoha to where her journey began. Although what no one noticed was the red head watching them from afar ever since the large pig entered the desert. "What is this? Mother is wary of them. Especially the blonde one," the red head said to himself before dissolving into sand. A full day later. Naruto had already sent 2 more messages to Sarutobi, one to say he reached his destination and another to mark that he is on his way back to the village. Speaking of which, the blonde preteen soon heard a knock on his door. "Enter," he said as it revealed the last princesses of lions. "To what do I owe the pleasure, your majesties?" he asked politely while getting a snicker from Veronica. "We just wanted to get to know our nephew better," Veronica said with Margaret nodding in agreement. "And I assume the same from Gilthander and Griamore, or will I be expecting to talk with them later?" he asked with a smirk while earning a blush from the two. "Don't change the subject," shouted Margaret. "Anyways, we're still a little messed up and having some issues with adapting with new times," Veronica said looking out the window. "Trust me, the moment I learned my parents left alone for 2 other siblings, I didn't even know I had messed me up, which only got worse when I learned I had 2 ancestors who froze their friends and family. Now here I am looking for them with a half-baked plan," Naruto explained, taking a seat on his bed. Margaret sat next to him. "You know, Naruto, we've spoken to Ban and learned a little more about your story," she said. "Yeah, Ban told me his story too, both abandoned by our families and left on our own to fend for ourselves. Going through scraps, or for Ban at least he had the courage to rob stands while I was too afraid, even though I would take all the hits just for standing too close to places that sold food. It was only a year ago that I freed him from his insanity." Naruto continued, making the other two look sad. "I can't imagine that. Father always thought of me as a tomboy and told me to be more ladylike Elizabeth and Margaret. I always think about moments when he was around, the good and the bad. Now that he's gone, we still have his memory, and that way he isn't really dead," Veronica said, trying to connect with Naruto. "Elizabeth wasn't our real sister, but she's all we really had besides our parents, and we loved her so much." Margaret memorized but soon started to tear up, but now that she's gone, she sniffled. "It's like we lost a part of ourselves, all we have is each other and some of the knights we grew up with." Veronica also began to fight the tears. "Veronica, Margaret, I don't want to be a replacement to fill the gap in your heart," he said, making the two look up at him in shock. "I want to work my way and build a relationship instead of earning a free pass. I want to help create new memories instead of painting over old ones. If we forget the past, how will we build the future?" he asked with a smile, making the other two understand his point. "So, what is this Konoha like, nephew?" asked Margaret. "People suck, but there's still some hope, and as long as you stick with me, I'll be able to make sure everyone makes a smooth transition into the village. Especially once I get the old man to understand the truth about my extended heritage," he said. "Well, no matter what, we'll be there to support you," Veronica said, hugging him from behind only to be joined by Margaret. Outside the room, Ban is seen smiling as he peeked through the door. "Naruto, years of abuse and hatred, and yet you haven't succumbed to using me or your wrath. Something that takes strength to defy gods is what you have. I hope you get the family you deserved," thought Ban as they slowly approached Konoha. Mount Myaboku, or the Land of Toads. Jiraiya found himself summoned to the land of his summons by Fukasaku, the Elder Toad Sage. "Jiraiya-chan, Gamamaru the Elder Toad, said the prophecy has changed once again," he said, making Jiraiya run to the giant Elder Toad himself, who sat with a concerned look on his face. "Hey Fred, Carl, or whatever the hell your name," Gamamaru was interrupted. Jiraiya shouted in frustration. "No, my name is Gamamaru, you idiot," the Elder Toad Sage said. "Anyways, I need to be frank with you, not meaning my name is Frank, or what was I talking about?" he asked. "The prophecy?" Jiraiya shouted. "Oh, that's right, my drawings changed again," he said, with Jiraiya looking concerned, but not by the fact that it was an actual children's drawing made by a centuries-old toad the size of a building. "You aren't going to like this, Tom," he said, making Jiraiya grow a tick mark as the Toad Sage revealed a painting of a dragon-like creature eating its tail. "A child turned man wearing the sign of a beast, descendant of an angel and demon, will resurrect the 7 who wear the beasts proudly, will either destroy or rebuild the shinobi world. A child of abandonment filled with scorn to be replaced by love, will grow powerful and be the final judge after defeating an army of 10. Gamamaru explained. "Child of abandonment? Angel? Demon?" asked Jiraiya. "So the child of prophecy isn't directly the descendant of Minato and Kushina? Then who?" "A child who has been forced to become an adult who hides behind a mask, who is about to reveal himself," Gamamaru explained, "It's funny, I wonder who the jackass is that got ignored, the child of prophecy. I would get it if the kid was psychotic or an ass himself, but can you imagine how evil you must be to abandon a child at birth? That's messed up if I do say so myself, right Rick?" he asked Jiraiya. "Oh god, I am a disappointment," Jiraiya said to himself. "You say something, Jimmy?" asked Gamamaru. Konoha. Hawk's mama went to hide in the outskirts of the village since Naruto explained his situation to everyone and promised to get them in at the end of the day since the tavern was pretty close to falling apart after all these years and pretty much lacked any room. Hendrickson and Dreyfus were still the wariest of the situation but agreed to follow Naruto's advice and wait for him at the tavern. Naruto didn't waste any time as he sprinted towards the Hokage's office. Eventually he just entered the office, ignoring the annoying disrespectful secretary. "I'm back from my mission," he said, getting a smile from the old man. "I assume it was a success?" the old man asked. "Well, that Allen guy made it to his destination," Naruto answered. "Good, I'll just leave it at that." Sarutobi signaled his Anbu to leave as he placed a silencing barrier. "Naruto, we have to talk, more importantly we have to talk about your parents," he said. "You knew the whole time?" he stated but not asked. "Yes, but now a recent change and development has happened where I feel obligated to tell you now," Sarutobi said. "I'm going to have to stop you right there, Gramps," Naruto said as he dropped his disguise, surprising the old man. "Might as well tell both sides of the story." "Why do you look like that perverted cook from that comic you used to read?" Sarutobi asked. "What cook?" "The one about the kid who wants to be king of the pirates and almost gave up his dream to see mermaids. He's like my former student Jiraiya except women actually find him attractive," Sarutobi explained. "Oh, I remember that one." Meanwhile in One Piece. "Hey, who the hell is calling me a perv?" "I'm no perv," shouted a blonde man with his hair covering his eye. "You're a perv, you stupid cook," shouted a green-haired swordsman. "Screw you, mosshead," shouted the blonde man. "Hey Sanji," shouted a red-haired girl with the body of a pencil and a comically drawn bust. "Yes, Nami Swan?" asked a man who now had hearts in his eyes. "I have to agree with Zoro on this one, you're kind of are a perv," said the red-haired woman, making the blonde man sulk in a corner. Back in Konoha. "Yes, that was funny for about 10 seconds, anyways about your parents." Sarutobi was interrupted as Naruto raised his hand. "I already know the truth and I'm already pissed about it. You can tell them that if they even bother coming back, I'd rather see this village burn than to join their family," he said, coldly, revealing his voice to have actually been lower and more matured and surprisingly less scratchy sounding. Naruto, I'm sorry for hiding the truth, but luckily for you there are a couple of laws that already protect you from having to join the Namikaze family," he said, surprising the blonde. "Before Hashirama-sensei considered his brother, my other sensei Tobirama, to be the next Hokage, he wrote a law that should the current Hokage either resign or be removed for a heinous crime. However, Hashirama had some doubts his brother would fulfill the dreams of his village, since Tobirama was a bit more rough when it came to government, and added a law that should the Hokage leave for an extended amount of time without notice and valid reason, this includes with the people of Konoha, they are immediately removed from office and replaced by the predecessor or a new successor. Sarutobi. I'm guessing abandoning your child and leaving literally after your village while it barely survived a disastrous crisis is a poor excuse to leave for over a decade, isn't it? Naruto asked. No, there's nothing wrong with that. I believe it okay to dump the job on the old man who has to put up with civilians and shinobi alike attacking a child while also handling the financial and military crisis caused by a monster roaming around the village, said Sarutobi, sarcastically, receiving a chuckle from his surrogate grandfather. As for the other law? Naruto asked. Naruto, we at least show some civility in this village and have laws regarding child abuse, and you can pretty much guarantee that they were okay with throwing away a child when Kushina went as far as saying that as long as they were out of the village, you were banished from her clan as an excuse for them to leave you behind. He said sadly at the last part. It's good thing I learned about my other heritage. What do you mean? Naruto smirked as he removed the hair covering his eye, shocking another person, but that's not all. Naruto removed his vest and shirt and revealed his angelic wings. This is angel form, and I don't think I have to demonstrate my other form, Naruto said. Demon form? He asked, only to be surprised with the wings turning black and sharp, along with a symbol and marks covering Naruto's face, as more darkness covered his body. The boy soon reverted his curse form back to his normal look. You might want to sit for this one, Naruto said. The boy went on to explain how he learned the truth about his parents and his siblings, and how he continues to loathe them to this day, along with still having trust issues towards Sarutobi, with the latter understanding with how much he had to lie and kept secret. Forgetting that, Naruto went on to how two people named Elizabeth and Meliodas visited him in a dream and explained how the nine-tailed fox was actually dead but tried to take over their friend Ban's body in a desperate attempt to live. The fox's personality stayed but was dead nonetheless, leaving Ban as a hulking psychopath even after he was sealed in Mito and Kushina, who both failed to free Ban from his uncontrollably hate. Naruto however fixed his issue and now coexists peacefully and can enter and exit the seal while remaining bound to Naruto like a normal Biju. Although the Biju still loathes both women for his mistreatment as he was seen as a wild animal as he retained his memories as the fox. Anyways, Ban had trained Naruto for a year and actually fixed his diet, which explained his height and signs of muscle growth. Then came the shocking part. He went on to explain how Meliodas and Elizabeth left a message for Ban and Naruto to look for their friends and family, the Holy Knights of Lioness. The two princesses who were Elizabeth's sisters and their group, the Seven Deadly Sins, now 6 since Meliodas is dead. He went on to explain how Alan was a member who was frozen in time and used his facade as an excuse to leave the village to find a portion of the sins since they were only able to find all but 2 of the sins. Now they were all waiting in the outskirts of the village for Naruto to get Sarutobi's permission to let them in since their mode of transport was rather noticeable. Finally, there was the fact that Elizabeth was actually adopted by the King of Lions, making Naruto the distant nephew of both the princesses of lions and partially the blood of nobility. Sarutobi looked like a fish with a gaping mouth at how much he just heard and saw the look on the boy's face that showed no sign of deceit as he kept a straight face along with no sign of discrepancies. So, hopefully I can get some time to find the remaining 2 after I figure out where they are, Naruto said to the still shocked Hokage. Naruto, I thinks it's best if I meet some of these people first. Maybe find you all a better home since that old apartment may not be able to fill the needs of royalty or their guards, Sarutobi said, trying to fight off his shock. Thanks Gramps, I appreciate it. Some of these people were close to my ancestors and it's good to know I actually have a chance to have a happy family, he said happily. I have to repent my mistake Naruto, and I have to start somewhere, and if you trust them then I'll give them a chance, Sarutobi said with a smile. Wait, I just realized something. Naruto spoke up as he was about to leave. What is it? Asked Sarutobi, raising an eyebrow. Since Minato left without notice, would that make him and Kushina missing Nin? He asked curiously as Sarutobi was shocked by the thought. Well Naruto, then he realized it, despite being Hokage at the time neither Minato nor his wife had sand and travel rights like Jiraiya and Tsunade. Oh my god, you're right. Sure, Kushina could have maternal leave, but it's been nearly a decade and a half, and even if your birth father was Hokage, he can't be given sand and travel rights, as it's our duty to watch over the village. I know the village come first while family comes second is a sacrifice we make, but honestly they just left with me having to take the job before Danzo nominated himself, Sarutobi said, now realizing how much trouble Minato just made for himself. The old man sighed as he took out several papers and a pen. You know, you could just use a shadow clone for that, right? He asked, surprising the old man. I mean, I had to make several hundred just to look for my family members, besides I actually had to search all over the outskirts of Suna and Yuzushio, which took several hours with the clones going through every inch in both places. Naruto explained his answer, following with Sarutobi smacking his head on the table. Soon the old man made several clones to start working on the mysterious pile of paper that's slowly been growing since they started their conversation. After a minute the real Hiruzen Sarutobi handed Naruto a couple of documents. Just have your friends sign these and they'll be allowed to pass the gates. After that we can meet in the morning for me to register them as citizens of the village. Thanks Gramps, I'll see you in the morning, Naruto said, jumping out the window. The boar hat. So, what do you guys think about that Naruto guy? Asked Gilthander. Well, apparently I'm his organ donor, Hoser said, trying to make a print on the table with his face. When did this happen? Griamore asked, looking at his sad friend. When your girlfriends were both thinking about that kid, Hoser answered, not looking up. The two blushed at the statement while Dreyfus was heard laughing in the back. So, my son and nephew are both smitten by the princess, eh? He asked. That's not funny, father, Griamore said, only earning another laugh from the former Holy Knight Grandmaster. Regardless, lions may be gone, but the legacy is still with us, said Hendrickson, approaching the group. Despite the loss of everything, we should at least consider following Naruto and see what this village of his is like, said Hendrickson. Hendrickson is right, Lions is gone along with the king and his people, and all that's left is us along with girls and Zeal. We need to assess the place before making a hasty decision, Gilthander said, with everyone nodding in agreement. They all turned to see Naruto opening the door, wings spread and panting. Are you alright? Asked Dreyfus, feeling concerned. Yeah, I just rushed over here, forgot to use my wings instead of running. Luckily my stamina is considered ungodly, considering I dashed about 15 miles in 5 minutes. Naruto getting a raised eyebrow and several blushed from the girls and Merlin for some apparent reason. Anyways, I just need you guys to all sign your names on these documents before we head inside the village. Ban, you might want to sign too before I have to explain the fact you're the creature that attacked the village," he said, getting a nod as he placed the paper on the table. Everyone signed the paper before Naruto led them into the village. "Time for a new chapter in this adventure," Naruto muttered to himself. He made Ms. Merlin blush, something uncharacteristic of her. He's earned my respect, maybe he can teach me as well, Escanor thought to himself. If he's this fast, I wonder how strong he is, maybe he'll give me a spar once we're in the village, Gowther thought. Stamina, thought all the women except Merlin. Why did I blush? Clearly, he was talking about exercising, besides I'm with Escanor, no wait, we're just friends, thought Merlin. I wonder what we'll face with Meliodas' descendant, thought Dreyfus. Top liver, literally, thought Hoser, still staring down and almost hitting a tree with his head. Hokage Tower. Enter, said the current Hokage, only to be shocked with a sight he wasn't expecting to see so soon. Hey old man, I'm back with the family, shouted a blonde man. Everyone's excited to be back, I think you should go get Naru-chan, I'm sure he'll be excited to meet his family, said the red-haired woman. Yeah, call that brat, I want to start his training, said the older blonde woman with two younger girls in front of her. Where's my Nikki? Asked a little boy with red hair who didn't go unnoticed by Sarutobi. He gave the boy an innocent look but scowled at the adults in the room. Anbu? He shouted, summoning of the elite shinobi. Naruto and the group were on their way to Konoha, we forgot the money to pay for the hotel. Hawk said out loud, making Naruto run back to the tavern and return several minutes later. Aren't you exhausted? He asked his blonde friend, who shook his head. I can keep going, but then again without the weights I would have been much faster, Naruto said. What weights? Asked Hawk. Oh yeah, even when we're not training, I make Naruto wear his weights to increase his strength and speed. Ban spoke up. Wait, so is he carrying stones in his pockets? Asked Veronica. Nope, seals that increase weight all over different parts of his body. Ban said, anyone want to give it a try? He asked. I volunteer, if Naruto can do it so can I, Gowther boasted. Okay, but I'm not dragging you, said Naruto, who placed a seal his arm. It doesn't feel so heavy, Gowther said, waving his arm around. I need to activate it first, I'll just use half the pressure, Naruto said, making Gowther collapse on his side. A little help, he shouted. I said I wouldn't drag you, and besides I used twice as much on both arms, Naruto deadpanned. I gotcha, said Hoser, helping Gowther up despite the arm weighing them both down. He wears these all the time, thought one formerly prideful Gowther. Perhaps you should hold off on sparring with my nephew Gil, said Margaret, who tried to help as well. Later at the village, Naruto managed to get the group past the gate guards. Before they made it far, they were stopped by an Anbu, Naruto Uzumaki. He asked, wary of the young man, not for what he contains, but from the fact he isn't in his orange outfit and is a lot taller now. Yes, am I needed by the Hokage? He asked. Them and the council right away, the Anbu said before disappearing in a gust of wind and leaves. Another wind user? Asked Hoser. I'm not sure, but warriors here are connected to at least one of 5 elements, but that's one of things you can do with chakra, Naruto explained. Besides, it looks like I'm needed. Ban, I need you take them to a nice hotel, not that crappy Golden Leaf place that owns most of the village, Naruto said. Sure, you might want to take Hawk and Jericho with you, he said. Wait, why me? Jericho asked, thinking Ban was trying to get rid of her again. You need to work on your political experience, Ban answered. If anything, political will happen, shouldn't Veronica and I be there for our nephew? Asked a worried Margaret. No, just leave it to Naruto and Jericho, besides they'll bow once they meet the captain of the Order of Scraps Disposal, Ban answered. He's right, come on Naruto, shouted Hawk in excitement. I guess I'll take them, come on you two, I'll find you later, Ban. Naruto waved off his uncle, who took the group with him, leaving Jericho to reluctantly follow Naruto. I guess it might be good to get some fresh air, Jericho said, following Naruto and Hawk to the Hokage Tower. It won't be fresh when we run into those old farts called the Elders, Naruto said, showing utter annoyance. Well, if they give you any trouble, they'll have to deal with the captain of the Order of Scraps Disposal. Besides, they'll fear me when they see me turn into a dragon, Hawk boasted. Dragon? Asked Naruto. Dragon, answered Hawk. Dragon? Asked Jericho. Dragon, shouted Hawk. Council office. Here's in Sarutobi, the Sandaime Hokage was known for a lot of things, from being taught by the first 2 Hokage to having to retake the hate after Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage, had supposedly passed away. Now he would run a meeting that would change the village, and alone with one Naruto Uzumaki. Now the shinobi clan heads along with the civilian council with the elders had taken their seats as they waited for the aged Kage to begin the meeting. "I've called you all here for," he was interrupted by a loud snap. "I see our guest has arrived early and doesn't know those doors are pull not push," he said as everyone turned to see a boot stuck in the door. "I guess he made it a pull now and not a push," said a male voice outside the door as he tried to move his leg. "I think I'm stuck." This earned a few snickers in the council room. "Well, whose idea was it to look cool?" asked a rather high possible female voice. "Shut up, Hawk," shouted the male voice who had issues moving their leg. "Here, let me do it," said an annoyed female voice showing the leg was barely able to do as much as wiggle. "No, you're in there good, I might have to cut you out," said the female voice. "Please be gentle," said the male voice only for the female to sigh as you could hear loud chopping against the wooden door. After a couple of minutes a hole is made to free the boot attached to the leg. "Thank you," said the male in a cheery voice. "Don't get your leg stuck in the door," shouted the higher voice. "Geez, Hawk, you don't have to yell, you know," the male trailed off as they tried to pull on the door, only for it to remain shut. "It's not opening." "You probably got it stuck," said the female as the door was heard being pulled but not moved. "I think it's stuck." "Or it's locked, God, that door hurt like a bitch," the male voice said. "Anyone in there?" "I think it's locked from the inside," shouted the male as more pulling could be heard. Sarutobi sighed as he signaled one of the Anbu to move and unlock the door to reveal Naruto, who was nursing his leg, a lavender-haired girl in armor and a pig. The pig moved forward with a smirk on its face as it went to the center of both sides. "Greetings, honorable council, I am Hawk and I am the captain of the Order of Scraps Disposal," shouted the pig expecting a round of applause. "What the hell? It can talk. What ungodly evil made it? Anyone going to eat that?" Everyone turned at Tsumin Yuzuka. "What?" she asked as everyone silently judged her strange personality. However, Hawk was crying and I'm tears in the corner from all the death threats until Naruto and Jericho stepped into the room to comfort their friend. Okay, is there a purpose to this meeting besides threatening my friend?" Naruto said as he pointed to Hawk as he was being comforted by Jericho. "Yes, Naruto, this actually involves you and your friends might want to take a seat for this one," Sarutobi said, gesturing for two open seats right there next to Hiashi. "They've been empty since Mito never needed to come representing her clan and Minato never fully established the Namikaze clan. I thought it was an excuse for no one to sit next to, just because I'm arrogant and I have awesome eyes doesn't make me an uchiha, honestly, besides having 360-degree vision those eyes are pretty useless," Naruto said, making the Hyuga head fume. "Watch your tone, boy. These are the eyes of an elite," Hiashi shouted. "Oh yeah? Then name what they're good for besides good vision," Naruto said. "They see through Genjutsu," Hiashi smirked. "So, can the Sharingan, but at least those eyes break Genjutsu and cast them and copy Jutsu and develop unique abilities after leveling up and are about as fast as the Byakugan and actually reveal your pupils. Shit, what can't they do? Maybe I've been taking my teammate for granted," Naruto said, making everyone laugh at Hiashi's expense. "Boy, my clan was here since the founding of the village," countered Hiashi. "So were the Senju, Uchiha, Uzumaki, pretty sure Inuzuka showed up a decade later. I think the Akamichi came after that at the same time with Sasuke Sarutobi and his family," Naruto explained, further making Hiashi fume. "Hiashi, stop embarrassing yourself. Why do you think I put your nephew with Might Guy? He refuses to use any jutsu," Sarutobi said, shutting the man up reluctantly. "Fine, but there's only 2 seats, Hawk, I guess." "Already ahead of you?" said Hawk as he took a seat away from Hiashi. "Can we trade?" he asked. "No way, I'm not sitting next to the creepy guy with no pupils," answered Hawk. "I guess you're going to have to stand, Jericho," Naruto said, making the woman sigh, "unless you want to sit on my lap," he said, making her blush. "Why would you even suggest that?" she almost yelled. "Then just stand behind me because that pig isn't going to move," he said as the pig had the face of determination. Jericho sighed again as she stood behind Naruto as he took his seat. "Okay, now does anyone have anything else to say?" asked the Hokage, feeling his patience already thin considering who he met the moment Naruto exited his office earlier in the day. Everyone remained silent, although there were a select few who were much more interested in seeing another outburst from Naruto. "Good. Naruto, as you know, you were abandoned for rather ridiculous reasons which have consequences themselves. Without further ado, let's bring in the defendants." He signaled the Anbu to open the doors, revealing several people that shocked all sides of the council. Naruto's eyes widened as the whole room began to grow drastically cold as signs of his curse mark was revealed. "Naruto, calm down," he said, making the boy power down his curse mark. "Yondaime," someone from the civilian side shouted. "He's finally here to finish the demon," someone else shouted, almost being impaled by Naruto's sacred treasure. Even as genin, I will uphold the Hokage's law. Naruto said in a cold voice that scared Hawk and Jericho. He is right, councilman, my law is in effect as I am the Hokage. Sarutobi shouted. Well, I mean until this meeting is over, started the blonde man who was revealed to be Minato Namikaze, started only to be interrupted. Try again, if I had the authority, I'd have that face demolished on the mountain from what you did. Shouted Sarutobi. Saru, I said I would be back, he was interrupted again. Yes, after you returned from your extended vacation while I was left here to protect your son from angry mobs, and the fact you left literally a week after the QB attack. The old man shouted. Sensei, aren't you overreacting? Asked Tsunade. I wasn't speaking to you. He shouted, scaring her. He never once shouted at her. Besides, this is also your fault as well. Without you our staff weren't led well, letting several hundred lives to die from their wounds after the attack. Sensei, it couldn't have been that bad. I just took Shizune, I'm sure, the hospital. Yes, the hospital where they attempted to let people into just so they could attempt to kill Naruto after his hundreds of beatings and near deaths. Tsunade, at this moment your Sanin traveling papers are hereby permanently revoked. He shouted. Sensei, you can't do this. She yelled back. Why? Because you can't run off to drink and gamble like you used to. Better yet, what you are only good for besides medicine? He asked in a dark voice. Sensei, I'm a Sanin and the granddaughter of my sensei, and I speak for him when you are a disgrace to all kunoichi who look up to you. Now stay silent before I liquidate your estate to pay back the families of those who died, since we faced an economic crisis after someone left. He said, scaring the woman, almost making her burst into tears. I refuse to say I'm related to that woman. Said Naruto, keeping his dark tone. Tsunade was about to say something, but was forced into silence by his dark aura. Is this his wrath? Or is this all the pent-up hate? Thought Jericho, remembering all the abuse from the memories Gowther shared and how Naruto would force himself into becoming optimistic. His rage is almost worse than Meliodas', thought Hawk, who was too scared to face Naruto. Regardless, Minato Namikaze, you abandoned the village as its leader during a time of crisis, leaving with a fellow shinobi, even while their maternity leave was expired, making them a missing sin, and abandoning a child, leaving them to abuse and depression, and several attempts at taking his own before the age of 10. Hold on, old man, you can't be making things up. Shouted Kushina as her younger red-headed son held tight onto her dress. Nurse. He shouted, revealing a woman with carrying large stacks of paper. This is a total of 1% of his total medical records. I actually paid a personal fortune just to create a private wing in the hospital. Explained Sarutobi, making Kushina start to tear up as the pile was on the floor but appeared taller than most of the people in the room. As I said, while you were off enjoying eating gourmet meals, I found Naruto by himself at age 5 digging out of the garbage, only to learn that the orphanage kicked him out 6 months prior. He said, shocking the Namikaze family. I have more than enough testimonies of crimes against Naruto Uzumaki from several people such as Iruka Yamino, his Chunin instructor in the academy. The Ichiraku family, who were the only ones willing to feed him and found him half dead several times, and several Anbu with reports of a dog-masked Anbu leading several of the mobs, only for lack of evidence preventing said Anbu from imprisonment. He said, making Kushina break into tears. Why? Why didn't you people respect my husband's wish? Shouted Kushina, getting shocked looks. How could you all let my child be abused? Naruto was starting to have enough of this and started tapping his fingers at an alarming rate as he tried to calm himself, making his two companions worry about him. He could see the entire interaction with Minato yelling at the civilians and shinobi who tried to defend themselves, saying that he was the QB reincarnated by using some logic you'd expect from a child. At least Minato was having none of that bull being fed to him. Then there were those two girls who were eyeballing him only for him to scare them away with his curse mark, while the red-headed boy looked at him curiously and seemed unfazed by the curse mark, leaving Naruto to just ignore him. Well, I rest my case, as the Sandaime Hokage, I hears in Sarutobi, will not relinquish my authority to you Minato Namikaze, and will instead announce my successor after the Chunin exams end. Naruto, if you could come here for a second. The blonde boy complied, not even batting an eyelash at his family, and went towards the Hokage. Despite being a genin, you are still not an adult but a minor. He said, making him frown. However, since you've returned with your guests, I'm going to have to ask you make one of your aunts sign these documents for them to formally adopt you. He said, shocking his family. Now hold on just a minute, Naruto is my child and he is not leaving his family for some harlots he found on the road. Shouted Kushina, only to be crushed by Naruto's kai. Don't you dare badmouth my aunts. At least they have the decency to be there for me, and why would you care? You left one for the sake of two and decided to fill the gap with another child. If I were to stay with, you'd put me in some side branch like the Hokage does with their slaves, or use me as some pawn for political marriage. Naruto shouted his frustration. But son, I promise it won't be like that, Minato said, only to be interrupted. You had many choices and left with an easy getaway and expect a child-turned-man to expect warm hugs after a decade and a half of neglect. He responded as he took the adoption papers from Sarutobi's hands. I see why you hid them, old man. I no longer have a real reason to pass my hate on to you. He said, walking out the door with Jericho and Hawk going after him. Hiruzen, you have to do something, Minato started. Don't drag me into this, you dug your own grave and I will have nothing to do with this. This council meeting is now over. Sarutobi said in a huff as everyone left, leaving the Namikaze family and Tsunade to stand there and reflect on everything they just heard in the meeting. It couldn't be that bad, right? I'm sure Naruto just needs space, thought Minato. I need to get my baby back, thought Kushina in tears. I'm sure Sensei and Naruto need time to cool off, he won't go through his adoption, and maybe Jiraiya and I can offer him some training. What kid wouldn't want to be trained by a Sannin? Thought Tsunade. Was that Miyazaki? Why was he angry? Thought the red-haired boy. But Naruto, Jericho and Hawk. You guys go find Ban, I'm sure he's found a decent hotel for all of you guys, said Naruto. What about? Asked Hawk. I need time to cool off, otherwise my wrath will get the best of me, and with Ban still linked to me, I might turn into a fully formed fox and go on a rampage. Naruto answered. Well, where will you go afterwards? Asked Jericho. After I cool down, I'll find Hawk's mama and sleep in the tavern, I don't want those vultures looking for me. Naruto answered as he walked away only to have his arm grabbed by Jericho. Well, let us come with you. Jericho insisted. Yeah, we won't leave you alone, said Hawk. Naruto really wanted to tell them to leave, but they had that determination in their eyes he had when he wanted to become a shinobi and knew they would be too pesky to try and get rid of. Fine, besides it's going to take a while, so I don't expect you to be there waiting for me while I let my wrath's energy leak, he said, with the two nodding and following him outside of the village. 7 deadly sins. Sin of wrath. Later, Hawk and Jericho stood there at a distance in the woods as Naruto removed his shirt and let the darkness within him reveal all the curse marks around his body as the energy started to leak around them, forcing the two gasping for air and shivering from how cold the pressure of the dark energy is. He just stood there letting the energy escape his body and roam around the lush greenery, slowly killing all the plants and other vegetation around them. The two held on the whole time. The process itself took about 2 hours before he finished with a loud yell as he fell onto his knees in pain as the curse mark itself attempted to spread in order to prevent himself from being consumed by the darkness. After he stopped screaming, his marks disappeared and he took several heavy gasps for breath. As he tried to stand, he found himself falling on his knees only to keep trying to move forward. The pair couldn't take seeing him fall and force himself to stand up. After his final try, Naruto found himself on top of Hawk's back, with Jericho keeping her hand safely around him. Don't strain yourself, we'll take you to the boar hat, Jericho said, earning a smile from Naruto before he blacked out. His inner self can be pretty scary, don't you think? Hawk asked. I know, but if you remember the memories Gowther showed us, he's been through a lot more than all of us. Gila lost her father, I lost my brother, and the princesses lost their father and kingdom, but Naruto had nothing and was expected to die with nothing. Jericho explained, getting a sad look from Hawk. I know, if I'd lost my mom I wouldn't know how to live with myself, cause she's everything I got before Meliodas showed, but now he and Elizabeth are gone. Hawk said, looking down before they realized it was raining. Hawk, we better find your mom fast, she said, getting a nod as the two rushed into the woods find the green giant. The pig herself was already underground, making it easy for them to enter right away. Jericho immediately started trying to carry Naruto up to one of the rooms and placed him on the bed. You can go to one of the rooms if you want, Jericho, I can watch him, said Hawk. No, that's alright, I want to be here when he wakes up, she said, pulling up a chair and faced Naruto's seemingly lifeless body. Okay, but I want to stay too, Hawk said as he climbed up the bed and curled up near Naruto as Jericho just sat there, not realizing that she was slowly drifting to sleep. End of song. The next morning, Jericho opened her eyes and found herself staring at the ceiling. Wait, why is she staring at the ceiling? She quickly got up and noticed that she was laying on the bed while the chair wasn't moved and Hawk was also gone. Although that wasn't her concern, Naruto was supposed to be the one laying down in bed, not her. She quickly got up and started looking for the boy by heading downstairs. Then she heard the burns of a frying pan as she made her way down to see Hawk somehow sitting on one of the stools and eating out of his bowl. Naruto immediately noticed her as she came closer to bar area. Oh hey, I was just to bring you up your breakfast, he said, casually, making her glare. Shouldn't you be resting upstairs? She asked angrily. I'm too used to that process, and besides, being connected to Ban's healing factor as a biju helps me regenerate. Come on, you must be starving since you haven't eaten since we made it to the village. he said, pulling out a plate of sausages and eggs. Jericho was about to speak up until her stomach spoke up for her, making her blush. "Come on, don't be shy, Ban drilled his cooking skills into me since he told me Meliodas didn't know shit," he said with a chuckle. Jericho took her seat and started eating, realizing that it was just as good as Ban's cooking. Naruto soon made his own plate and joined the two for breakfast, forgetting about yesterday's events and hoping to find peace for the day. With Ban, the fox-in of greed soon found himself along with Veronica, Margaret and Gilthander on their way to Naruto's apartment. "Just a heads up, you may be his relatives, but his apartment is not fit for a king," Ban said, earning nods since they remembered most of the citizens hate Naruto and most wouldn't house him. The group made it and you could tell his companions were already disgusted by his house. What made it worse was the fact that it got tagged again, showing all the demon and kill yourself remarks. "Fun fact, Biju are actually made of energy with no divine nor demonic power," Ban said, trying to lighten the mood. "Another fun fact, killing a Jinchuriki will only release the Biju and none of the other guys are very merciful after being pissed," he said, making them feel worse for the boy. "They'd be praising my nephew if this were Lions with how much sacrifice he's put in," said Veronica angrily. "Regardless, we should still check on him," said Gilthander, hoping he doesn't have to unleash his wrath on any villagers. They went up to the door and knocked on it several times with no answer. "Naruto, it's me, open up," he shouted with no answer. "Your aunts and Gilthander are with me." Still no answer. "Hold on, I have a spare key," he said, trying to put it through the knob only for the whole door except the job he put the key into to fall. Ban quickly inspected the entryway. After many years of them trying to break in, and with us reinforcing those hinges and locks, it finally fell apart, Ban said just as a part of the ceiling fell behind him. "Once we find better housing, Naruto will be moving in us," said a determined Margaret, with Veronica nodding in approval. After a few minutes of searching the rundown apartment, Ban came to the conclusion that Naruto hasn't been home in a while. "I guess he didn't come home tonight," Ban said. "Well, where else could he be when he's not home?" asked Gilthander. "Either in the hospital, hiding in the woods, or he fell asleep in the training grounds. I didn't see a riot last night, so the first two are out of the picture, so I'm assuming he got bored after the meeting and dragged Jericho off to one of the training grounds," explained Ban, getting a shocked look the moment he mentioned a possible riot. "What do you mean riot?" asked Veronica. "Oh, that, it's almost October, and that was the month some guy pretending to be Madara Uchiha possessed me in my fox form and made me attack the village," Ban said. "Funny cause the real Madara did the same in his fight with the first Hokage, which ended with him dead and me inside the belly of a redhead," Ban continued. Margaret got the gist of what he meant and sighed in relief. "At least my nephew wasn't attacked. We should find him before he does something to piss Jericho off. He may have been pretending to be an idiot, but he has the knowledge of pigeon when it comes to women," Ban said, earning a chuckle. Suddenly they heard voices coming from the outside. "Who's that?" asked Veronica. Ban immediately sensed the signatures around him. "Everyone hide, I'll take care of it," he said, making all three hides in the shadows. Ban quickly went out the door as he had to confirm his suspicions. As he went outside, he noticed 3 nips of blonde hair, 3 red ones and a white hedgehog-shaped hairstyle. "Damn it, I guess that's why he didn't check on us last night," Ban said to himself as he went inside. "Gil, take the girls into the outskirts of the village. There's a training ground near a lake. Naruto usually likes to go there when he's stressed." "What about you?" he asked. "I have unwanted visitors to deal with," he said, getting a nod as the linked-haired man grabbed the 2 girls and disappeared in a strike of lightning, leaving another hole in the ceiling. "Hopefully he's okay with living in the boar hat for a while," said Ban as the apartment was close to shattering. "Who are you? And what are you doing in my son's house?" Ban turned to see an angry Minato and Kushina. "I'm the guy who's been inside your wife," he said, earning several growls, "and inside that other red-headed bimbo. The only difference is that I was treated like a wild animal when I was inside this bitch," he said. "Who the hell are you?" shouted Tsunade, removing her green jacket. "Fake breasts, fake appearance, fake strength, fake image of a kunoichi. Honestly, Tsunade, Mito, but at least she was realistic. Tobirama may have been a beep, but at least he had the balls to use discipline, unlike Hashibaka, who was too soft," he said, getting a glare from the blonde woman. "You still haven't answered the question," said Minato, glaring at the unintentional sex joke he made towards Kushina. "Fine, Minato, let me make this simple for you," Ban said, looking down at the shorter man. "When you let that bastard Uchiha get away and left the village to fend for itself in its time of need," he started, poking the blonde in the chest, "then you made the greatest mistake. You ruined your son's life," he said, making the man look down. "That's right, even when I was unstable you left. The village started thinking that he was me creating the October fox hunts. I can tell how proud you are considering you made another rugrat to replace the original one," he said, pointing at the red-headed toddler. "Leave Menma out of this," shouted the blonde teen, clearly one of Naruto's sisters. I wasn't talking to you. He shouted, unleashing his 9 tails and using one of them to smack her away. Basumi, shouted the red-headed twin as she ran towards her sister's side. Well, I'll leave you thinking about whose life you've ruined. I have to go find my son. I have to go find my son. He corrected himself. Oh no, Jiraiya was about to grab Ban only for the fox to grab his arm that was powering up a Rasengan, only for it to disappear as Ban shattered his arm and kicked him several teams, making him fly into the wall. Jiraiya. Everyone shouted, not noticing Ban leave in a fire shunshin. The 9-tailed fox is out. Shouted Kushina. Oh god, if he's out then oh god Naruto. She said. We have to find our son. Said Minato as he and Tsunade picked up his injured sensei. Training ground 7. Okay, I'm sure Ban is on his way here, probably realizing I'm not at my crappy apartment, especially since I might need him if I get any of you interested in chakra. Said Naruto as he led Jericho and Hawk to his empty training ground, since he knew that Team 7 had their day off today. You said chakra is like a life energy you unlock at a young age, right? She asked, getting a nod, but at what age does it stop being possible? I think 14 or 15, but Ban said there's some sealing method we can do, and since Ban has a giant amount of it, we can fill you up with some and can start training from there. He said, getting a look of fear. Ban told me about how a bunch of you guys drank the demon blood, but don't worry, this won't make you unstable, considering Ban will purify his chakra, since his will make you insane. He said, not getting a better look of confidence. Soon the trio was surprised to see lightning strike close to them. Oh hey Gil, you here to train too? He asked the pink-hat man. No, Naruto, were you training all night? He asked. No, I was sleeping in the boar hat after the meeting happened. He answered. Why the boar hat? Gil asked. You might want to sit for this one. Naruto said as the three sat on the grass. He went over the contents of the meeting and seeing his parents again, and during that time, Hiruzen went over how Minato lost all authority as Hokage and lost custody of Naruto. Naruto then went on to explain that his wrath built up, leading to Jericho and Hawk having to watch him as he recovered in the boar hat while his 2 companions refused to leave his side. Then Naruto went on to explain that since he's a low-ranking soldier and an orphan, he still counts as a minor, but Hiruzen gave him adoption forms for either Margaret or Veronica to fill out. Now that I think about it, the old man wanted to meet everyone this morning to process you all citizens. Naruto added just before a tornado of fire appeared, revealing Ban. I met up with your birth parents and almost broke Jiraiya in half. He said, getting a nod. And you think you would have to count as a citizen? Asked Naruto, who shrugged. I've been here since the village was founded and I don't even have a bank account. He explained, I thinks it's best I stay attached to your gut. Well, I guess we better postpone training. Ban, you should grab everyone at the hotel so I can sign them in. Naruto said, getting a nod as Ban left in a fire shunshin. Come on, we better not keep the old man waiting. He said, making everyone follow him to the tower. Hokage Tower. Enter, said Sarutobi, dispelling his clones who were at work. As the door opened, Naruto walked in, revealing Gowther and the 2 princesses. Ah, you must be the aunts Naruto has spoken about, Sarutobi said. Yes, I am Margaret, 1st Princess of Lions, and this is my sister Veronica, 2nd Princess of Lions. Margaret said as the sister bowed. I am Gowther, Holy Knight of Lions. Gil said. And Aunt Margaret's lover. Naruto quickly added, getting a blush from Margaret. You didn't have to mention that. Gil shouted as his cheeks turned red. Anyways, everyone else should be here right now. He said as the doors opened to Ban, leading everyone else in. Is this everyone? Sarutobi asked. Introduce yourselves, everyone. Naruto said. I am Hoser, Holy Knight of Lions. Hoser said. I am Griamore, Holy Knight and protector of Princess Veronica. He said proudly. And her lover. Naruto added, getting a blush from his other aunt. You didn't have to tell him that. Griamore shouted with red cheeks. He did it again. Shouted Gil. Okay, knock it off, you two. Shouted Dreyfus. I am Dreyfus, one of the grandmasters of the Holy Knights and the father and uncle of those 2. He pointed at the pink-haired man and muscular man. I am Hendrickson, the other grandmaster is the Holy Knights. Hendrickson said. I am Gila, Holy Knight apprentice of Lions, and this is my younger brother Zeal. Said Gila as she gestured to the boy hiding behind her leg. I didn't properly introduce myself earlier. I am Jericho, Holy Knight apprentice of Lions. Said Jericho. And I Slater, captain of the Roars of Dawn of Lions. Slater said from behind his mask. Now for us sins, I'm Ban, the fox sin of greed of the 7 deadly sins, and know as the 9-tailed fox. He said, getting gasps from the hidden Anbu, making them take a defensive stance, only to be knocked out by Gowther with his power. It would have taken too long to explain the situation to them. I am Hother, goat sin of lust, sparkle. He said, making a peace sign over his eyes. I am Merlin, the boar sin of gluttony. said Merlin as Saratobi suppressed the blood leaking out of his nose from the woman's apparel. I am Escanor, I bear the mark of the king of the jungle, the lion's sin of pride. Escanor said, revealing the mark on his back. And I'm Hawk. I am the captain of the Order of Scraps Disposal. Shouted Hawk in excitement. Saratobi laughed at the last one, already seeing Hawk's excitement. Yes, good to meet you all. Naruto here has already explained to me why you are here and your relationship with him. He's our sister Elizabeth's distant grandson, making him our distant nephew. Margaret said. And since Naruto is an orphan and a low-ranking shinobi, I will grant custody to one of you. Saratobi explained as the two sisters looked at each other, then Naruto, who smiled. Take your time. He said. Go ahead, Margaret, you were always the more responsible one. Veronica said as her sister nodded and filled out the document. Then there's who else should look after him should you be unavailable. Saratobi said. I'll add your name below my mine, Veronica. Margaret said, getting a nod as she finished the last bit of information. But I hereby declare you Margaret of Lion's legal guardian of Naruto Uzumaki. Saratobi said as the two women wrapped their arms around their nephew. Lucky bastard, were the thoughts of Griamore and Gil. Now for citizenship, unless some of you are capable of being shinobi. Saratobi stated. And I think the Sins should sign up as shinobi, since they'll have more freedom to do whatever. Naruto said. That's right, then there's everyone else but the princesses and Zeal who can't defend themselves. Ban added. Hey, I can totally protect myself. Veronica shouted in outrage. You do remember I grabbed you in a second, right? Ban asked. And you were blown up by my mines. Gila added. That's because I never got that chance since father forbade anyone from training me. Veronica countered. Still, I want a chance and I don't want to live the boring life of a civilian. She continued. And Margaret, what do you think? Naruto asked, making the older woman sigh at her little sister's antics. As her elder, I will let her prove herself, preferably under Hendrickson or Dreyfus' guidance, Veronica cheered, but the moment she's too injured to continue or fails, I want her back as a civilian. Veronica fell face first into the floor. Alright, I will get the necessary paperwork. Saratobi said. After a long meeting, Ban and the rest of the Sins along with Slater were given Jounin rank. Hendrickson and Dreyfus were also given Jounin rank, but marked as senseis, while Gila, Jericho and Veronica were given their own team, as Genin being instructed under Hendrickson and Hoser, Griamore and Gilthander were put under Dreyfus as a sensei. To support the decision, Gowther carefully passed on information to Saratobi's mind, revealing their combat experience without having to go to the effort of testing them on the field. In the end, he gave everyone but Margaret and Zeal a forehead protector that they either put on the forehead or around their arm. Before we wrap up this meeting, we still have one more thing to mention. Said Margaret, who turned to her sister, who nodded. Veronica places her hand on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto, Margaret and I have thought things over, and since we adopted you, we've decided to let you take our surname. She said, and soon found herself grabbed in a tight hug. Veronica smiled at the sense of affection and returned it. Everyone smiled at the affection, and Saratobi quickly pulled out a new document. I guess you have to fill this one out now, Naruto. He said to his surrogate grandson, who couldn't contain his excitement and signed the document. Now for his legal guardian. He said, prompting Margaret to sign it. I hereby rename you Naruto Lyons. He said, getting a round of applause. No one but Saratobi was blue to sense the man outside the Hokage's window hiding, listening into the conversation. Crap, sensei, what did you do? Thought the man as he went of roof jumping. I have to tell Minato and Kushina, we have to annul this. He thought, worried. Later at the training field. Naruto Lyons soon found himself at the training field again, preparing seals with Ban. The two took detailed precaution as to the impact. Meanwhile, all the knights except for Hendrickson and Dreyfus were studying the scrolls on chakra theory. So, you're saying our magic power might not enough? Asked Gilthander. It's good, but learning a little bit more than firing it willy-nilly might not be enough to survive in this world. Besides, even if your lightning element is more powerful than any normal shinobi could reach, learning a few techniques help. Besides, something tells me hand seals might be irrelevant within a few years for you guys. Ban explained, finishing up the seal. Okay, we're finished. Ban, you might want to get your chakra ready while I get ready in case of any incidents. Naruto said, getting some scared looks. Incidents? Are you sure my son and nephew will be alright? Asked Dreyfus. Well, after tapping into my elements after awakening to my demon and goddess powers, I kind of learned I have some access to all the elements, depending which of the powers I activate. Another fun fact, certain combinations of elements can create new custom styles. For example, water and air create ice, and while earth and water create wood. Naruto said, still confusing everyone. Sorry, I went on a tangent there. I was getting to wood, which allows me to suppress Ban's power, which can help considering the last time I tapped into his power I went insane. He finished, making everyone feel skeptical. I'm having second thoughts. Veronica said. Hey, I'm sorry that the only person here that can access chakra without this ritual is Zeal. He said, shocking Gila. What does Zeal have to do with this? She asked, feeling threatened of her brother's safety. I'm just using him as an example, he's still a little kid, so he has like 5 or 6 years available to him if he wants to develop his chakra naturally. Naruto said, calming her down. Well, anyone who's got second thoughts can stand back, everyone else can stand in the circle. Ban said as Jericho was the first to move into the circle, first getting looks of surprise. Jericho? Gila asked. I'm taking this chance, I don't want to be useless anymore, and Ban promised this won't be like the demon's blood, and besides Naruto will stand by in case something does go wrong. Jericho defended herself while Gila winced, remembering the demon's blood and how it affected her and most of the holy knights. Then there was the reporter father died from the transformation caused by the demon's blood. However, she looked up again and saw Hokage and Grimmore moving up next. Really, I expected Aunt Veronica to go next, I guess Uncle Grimmore is more brave than the princess. He said, causing the two to blush. You Uncle Grimmore? Grimmore asked, blushing, while Hokage laughed. Ahahaha, looks like you became a great uncle already, my friend. Hendrickson laughed at Dreyfus's expense. Dreyfus looked in confusion as Slater and Gilthander also took up their spots. Yay, Uncle Gilthander stepped up. Gil blushed at the words as he ended up turning towards Margaret, who looked away in embarrassment but failing to hide her blush. Veronica got over her fear and moved up along with Gila, who overcame her fear. You two sure you don't want to join in? Ban asked the two Holy Knight Grandmasters. We can handle instructing them, but this chakra energy you speak of might not something we're really willing to experience. Dreyfus said, remembering being possessed by a demon and earning energy from something considered a demon wouldn't help. Sir Ban, not to offend you anything, but we've had enough with demon powers. Hendrickson added. I'm a structure of energy that can turn into a fox, but whatever, I see where you're coming from. Ban said, shrugging off the demon comment. This might take a while, so you all might want to get comfy. Naruto said, activating his goddess powers as Ban's eyes turned to slits as a chakra cloak appeared. Zeal, sweetheart, please hold my hand until your sister's done with the ritual, okay? Margaret asked a little boy who looked nervous. Okay, Lady Margaret. He said, grabbing her hand. The Jinchuriki and his tailed beast soon began their ritual, causing a large force of demonic chakra to heavily drop a large amount of pressure onto everyone, forcing most of them to take a knee or lay down on their stomachs. I never would have taken a liking Ban for the magical arts. Said Merlin, being impressed by the rather complex ritual considering the man was a thief and a drunk for most of his life, but became an intelligent and nurturing father figure. The ritual ended 20 minutes later with everyone feeling exhausted as Naruto prepared his Mokuton to summon several branches from the ground, preparing for any unstable pseudo-Jinchuriki to run around loose. After a minute, everyone appeared calm, but what Naruto soon noticed were their faces. Everyone had whisker marks. Margaret was the first to point this out as she ran towards Gilthander's side as Zeal did with Gila. Bill, your cheeks. She said, stroking them, getting an odd reaction. You just purred. She said, making him blush. Zeal did the same with Gila, getting a purr as well. Big sister, you also purred. He laughed, stroking her, making Gila push her brother away. Slater was the only one lucky enough to have a mask on to keep his whiskers hidden away until Merlin appeared in front of him. Slater, remove your mask. She ordered. Big sister, why do you ask something odd from me? He asked, feeling nervous. It's an order from your big sister, now be a good little brother and let me see those cheeks. She commanded again. I would, but I have warts. He lied, but Merlin wasn't having any of it. Escanor, be a dear and hold him down. She said, and the muscular man soon grabbed Slater from behind before he had the chance to escape. Yes, Ms. Merlin, now hold still and let your big sister stroke you. He said as Merlin removed Slater's mask, making him purr after stroking those cheeks. Ahahaha, you know Escanor, I bet you would cute with these whiskers. She said, complimenting her admirer. Perhaps it would, but such power is unnecessary for someone of my standing, Ms. Merlin. He said as his weaker self blushed internally. For the rest of the day, Ban and Naruto checked on everyone's status as a temporary pseudo-Jinchuriki. After they finished, Ban explained how his energy would return within a week, but their chakra coils should soon purify and develop on their own after the demonic energy leaves. They bid their goodbyes as the Holy Knights, Princess and all sins, but Ban left, leaving Hawk, Ban and Naruto to head back to the Boar Head. Naruto soon crashed onto his bed with Hawk at his side as Ban did the same in his own room. Midnight. Naruto and Hawk were enjoying their sleep until they heard several bands on the front door. Trying to ignore, they both tried to fall asleep only for the banding to get louder. Naruto groaned as he got up and went to the door as Hawk yawned and followed him. As the two went down the stairs, they ran into Ban, who also looked annoyed as well. I swear if this is a summons to the counselor, a salesman, Ban started, who was already annoyed. I'll put oil in the fryer, maybe unwanted visitors will make good scraps for the pig. Naruto said as Hawk was unfazed. Might as well feed them to mom while we're at it. Hawk said. Naruto rubbed his temples and opened the door to get ready to yell at his unwanted visit. Hello, Sachi. The stranger said and Naruto's adjusted as they widened at who he saw outside his door. May we come in, it's been a while since we talked. Naruto's eyes quickly turned red with black slits as he summoned Lost Vein to his side as Ban soon noticed who the visitors were and pulled out his 3-section staff. Hawk didn't like what was going on, pulled out one of Merlin's food pills and turned into his dragon form. Please, we just want to talk. Said another voice, only for Naruto's chakra to flare, getting the attention of a lot of people within the village. Hiruzen Sarutobi woke up in his family's estates and prepared his Anbu to search for Naruto. In the hotel, Merlin woke up Gowther and Escanor as they quickly got dressed and left to search for the source of energy, assuming it was either Ban or Naruto who got themselves into some kind of trouble. Why the hell are you here? Naruto asked as his curse mark started covering his face. So this part ends here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, so quickly like this video for second part of this series. And comment down below your thoughts about this series. And now it's time for me to go, bye.